Drew. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. As the defending WWE champ, huge fight coming up January 31st, I believe, is the next Rumble. A little bit of unexpected news on your end. We saw that on Monday you announced that you had been diagnosed with COVID, but you were feeling good. Give us an update on your health right now.
Yeah, like I mentioned on Monday, and I'm one of the fortunate ones that aren't experiencing any symptoms. But I just wanted to reinforce, and WWE wanted to reinforce to everyone how important it is to continue to listen to all the health guidelines, to wear your mask, to practice social distancing. And thankfully, we are so strict in regards to our testing that the testing found out that I was, tested positive, and that we couldn't risk having me in the building around our employees to affect their health and perhaps affect one of their family members' health as more in the high risk category. But thankfully, I'm feeling good right now.
Okay, so any question at all as to whether we're going to be seeing you on January 31st?
Absolutely none. I will be there. Said I'm following the doctor protocol. I will be there. I'm going to face Bill Goldberg, somebody I watched as a kid. Very exciting for me.
Right? I know when that first sort of came out, you were like, wait a minute. I'm not sure if we want to do this. But, from your perspective, as one of the guys you grew up watching as a kid, how does that impact your mindset at all as you're gearing up to defend your title?
It's exciting. I never thought I'd get the opportunity to face Bill Goldberg. I tried to give him an out. Last week on Monday Night Raw on USA, I was in the main event defending my WWE Championship against Keith Lee, and all the legends were on the stage. It was such a dream scenario for me. With Hulk Hogan on the stage watching me, Ric Flair on the stage watching me, so many people I grew up idolizing, defended my title. After the match, who walks out? Bill Goldberg. Challenges me to a match. Bill's 20 years older than me. As we mentioned, I watched him as a kid. I tried to give him an out and told him fighting him would be like fighting my own dad. He didn't take kindly to it. He pushed me on my butt. So this week I accepted his challenge, and I think I'm going to have to teach Bill a little lesson in respect, because he seems to be under the impression that I don't respect him.
Well, all I have to say is somebody who just turned 50 in August, 50 is the new 30. So I'm just saying you might need to watch yourself.
Heck yeah, you're as young as you feel. I feel about 90 sometimes, but today I feel about 20.
I could not agree more. In terms of your training, so there are protocols and you're sort of in COVID quarantine now. How does that impact what you're going to be doing in the lead up to Jan 31?
Well, my training personally changed at the start of the pandemic. Basically, the day I walked into the gym and they told me that, things are closing up for now, and I started to understand the severity of the situation. My wife and I hopped in the car and drove straight to the local secondhand gym equipment store and started fashioning a home gym in our garage here. And since that was April, I believe, I've just been building on my garage, and that's where I do all my training now. It's all in-house.
Okay, so nothing's changing in terms of like you needing to take it easy for a little while. Like what's your schedule look like this week?
I mean, this week, I've kind of scaled it back a little bit, but I know I could push myself as hard as I want to. I've got a certain little timeline for my Royal Rumble match. Every match I treat differently, how I approach my training. In a match with Bill Goldberg, he's not going to wrestle 30 minutes, let's say. He's not built for distance. It's built more for a short, explosive match, and my training's designed that way, and it kind of kicks in at the end of this week when we really get intense.
I remember when the pandemic first started and sports across the globe literally got shut down, and WWE was one of the first to jump back into the arena, and you were very mindful and thoughtful about all of the protocols and creating this Thunderdome atmosphere. Based on your experience and being one of the first sports entertainment organizations to jump back in, what do you feel has worked the best? Because all of us in the sports world are continuing to try to figure out what we need to do to keep everybody safe. What's worked so well for WWE, you think?
Well, I mean, it's been quite the process. For us, we're the only game that didn't shut down. Right at the height of the pandemic, every other sport was closing down, and we saw it, as our true responsibility to keep people entertained during the most difficult time in, our lifetime. And we pushed ahead, gave the world our biggest event of the year, WrestleMania, over 2 days. I was in the main event, fighting for the first time for the WWE title that I've ever competed for it. A feel-good story. I've had a lot of ups and downs in my career, and we were competing instead of in Raymond James Stadium, 15 minutes where I'm sitting right now, my American hometown with 90,000 people there. We're competing in the empty performance center, just basically like an empty warehouse. We gave the world that show. I won the WWE championship. We had such incredible feedback on social media. And then I found out later on that the social media numbers were, oh my goodness, they're crazy. Ready for this? 14 million, 14 million unique social media interactions over 2 days, up 60% from the year prior. And we saw how many people were watching and how many people were being entertained and lifting people's spirits. We knew we were doing the right thing. So we kept pushing ahead in that environment, trying to see what worked, because we didn't have a live crowd there. It was such uncharted waters. Me as the WWE champion, I was trying new things to see how I could reach the fans at home, make that connection, because they weren't in the stands anymore. I started breaking the fourth wall, like looking into the camera, like the way I'm doing right now. Like that was taboo in the past. If you're watching a movie, like at home right now, or if you do go to the movies every so often, no one's looking down the camera, no one's breaking the fourth wall.
How weird was that for you, though? Because, I mean, you were kind of fortunate, and I think a lot of the superstars and the WWE, just in general, started out with a really robust social footprint before COVID ever hit. So in a way, I felt like, okay, you're ahead of the game. But you make a great point. When you realize that this is your only connectivity with the fans. I mean, you're used to having arenas, like you said, 90,000, 100,000 people. How did your approach change? What was that like for you, thinking, okay, what I've done to this point has worked, but now we need to change the game a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned already, thankfully, we'd already built that foundation of social media. It was so critical that when we hit the pandemic, to get that audience feedback, WWE uses social media more than any other sports, any other entertainment, to build our characters, enhance our storylines. And thankfully, with that built-in engagement during this time where we're able to get an idea of what was working, what wasn't working, I would reach out to our social media team and just give me the feedback. What are they digging? What are they not digging? I would check my own social media to figure out what was working. And I noticed they liked me looking in the camera and saying little catchphrases. And I've told this story a few times when I asked my wife right at the beginning of it all, what can I do? What's going to get people's attention? She's not the biggest wrestling fan in the world. She kind of keeps me balanced because I'm so obsessed, and she's not. It keeps us in the middle. And she told me, like, what's the current TV show? Tiger King's the big show right now. I dare you to say, hey, you cool cats and kittens down the camera. And sure enough, I was the first segment of a 3-hour show on Monday Night Raw. I walked out, looked in the camera, said, hey, you cool cats and kittens. Somebody gift that, put it out on social media. Everyone's sitting at home. They see that, the WWE champion saying the Tiger King catchphrase down the camera, and they go, what is going on in the wrestling right now? I have to check it out. And during that period, I would get feedback from like my friends in America, my friends in the UK, friends across the world, who would tell me, we're struggling a little bit mentally right now. There's nothing to do. We can't leave the house. You're the only game in town. The original content 3 times a week we look forward to with Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. And they would say thank you. That period is the most rewarding time of my entire career, when everything was locked down and WWE was the only game in town.
Well, Tiger King worked for everybody.
Yes, it did.
On that, as you continue to garner feedback, what did you realize maybe wasn't working, or where was there an opportunity for you to pivot? Because when you think about all the people here at CES, there are so many people who are like unveiling innovation, they're entrepreneurs, they're business people. We've all had our ups and downs, and being able to pivot is the part of so many people's success story. So for you, and there have been a lot of pivots in your career, even before the pandemic, but specific to the fan feedback that you were getting, where was there an opportunity for you to say, okay, let me tweak this. Let me see if there's an opportunity to pivot?
I mean, the biggest pivot we made as a company in regards to, I guess, technology and innovation was the Thunderdome, for sure. As much as we were trying to, give the audience the best show possible within the Performance Center with 0 fans, it was just not quite be expecting you tune into WWE, and the other sports started back up, and our production team and heads got together and said, how can we bring back what you expect from WWE, that larger than life feel when you're watching the show, and how can we get the fans back in some capacity if we can't get them back physically? That's around, I believe, August time. We made the big pivot, created the WWE Thunderdome, and if you've not seen it, it's unbelievable. It's everything you could expect and more from WWE. So it's in the arena, it's in a state, actually the stadium now, at the Tropicana Field. It's got the lights, the lasers, the pyro. When I say
and
pyro,
the monitors where you're seeing the fans and you're hearing the fans in real time.
Biggest one of all, my goodness. Like when I say the pyro, we can't have this kind of pyro with fans because it'd be too dangerous. It's like 4th of July, every single Raw, every single SmackDown. But when it comes to the fans, that was the biggest thing for me of all, just having them back virtually, over 1,000 screens, fans on the screen reacting in real time. That's something I miss more than anything. I get passionate about talking about it like here because it means so much to me to see and hear them when I've missed them for so long. And I know it's in real time because I did a test. The first week we had the Thunderdome, I was about to walk to the ring, and I asked one of our technicians, "Is this actually live?" And they told me, "Yes, Drew, it's actually live." I went, "Oh, okay." Never said anything else. This is live TV, like we're doing right now. We could do and say anything.
Yeah.
Like there's no safety net. That's what I do every week on television. I go out there and I like to just go from the heart. I don't like to read scripted lines. I want it to feel real. I want to talk real. If I mess up a word, it's okay. And I asked all the fans, okay, I've been told this is in real time right now, so I'm going to do a little test. I want everybody right now to give me a big thumbs up because this Thunderdome's pretty freaking cool. And I did the big thumbs up. I turned around and looked at all the screens. It felt like time stood still, and I thought, he lied to me. It's on a delay. I can't believe he lied to me, but it's just because I was so nervous in the moment. Every one of those thumbs came up at the same time, and I had such a rush come over me. I went, wow, okay, we might not be able to have you back physically, but you're here with us right now. We can hear you right now. And that's the coolest innovation we've made by far, is that Thunderdome. The thing's unbelievable.
Everybody in sports, every sport across the globe has been trying to figure out how to leverage technology to reimagine what the fan experience looks like, because you can't have a full stadium standing room only situation. Seeing what the Thunderdome has done, being in the middle of what is this amazing technological byproduct, how do you see maybe the WWE continuing to explore with technology once you're actually allowed to have fans back in the stands?
And I think when it comes to technology, it's going to be like unlimited. When it comes to innovation and adapting to any situation, WWE is just always ahead of the curve. When it comes to the content wise, we're just going to keep pushing ahead and doing what we always do, and that's creating short form content, long form content on our TV shows, on our social media platforms, on our WWE network. We're absolute content monsters. We're going to keep pushing ahead, delivering the world unique content from WWE.
Well, a lot of people who don't watch WWE on a regular basis, I don't think they understand how the company is and your characters are so steeped in storytelling, and there's depth. And I know that you've really worked to create more depth in your character over the years. When it comes to content, how much has that helped enhance what you can offer to the fans beyond live events? Because you can do an even deeper dive when it comes to storytelling.
Oh, 100%, especially, when it comes to bringing in, the characters and, real life. And one of the coolest piece of content we were able to bring everybody, especially at the height of the pandemic, was The Last Ride, the documentary on The Undertaker. He was a very well-known character, a 30-year career. Those who watch wrestling obviously know him. Perhaps those that are Laps fans are aware of him. Those that don't even watch wrestling know who The Undertaker
Everybody
is.
knows who the Undertaker is.
Yeah. So, in regards to like content, like focused on the characters and giving you a deep dive, like it was just an unbelievable exploration of the man behind the character, somebody who's never like shown the world his real self. He's always played this dead man character, very cold. You don't know much about him. You don't know much about his personal life. And I was around him growing up. I saw what the real man is like and how dedicated he is to his profession, to his character. If a camera came near him when I was younger, like 23 years old backstage, he would threaten to beat up the cameraman if he tried to take a picture of him. And finally, he was allowed the world to see inside, the real man, to see his family, to see how much he has given to this industry, to see just truly how special he is. And that Last Ride documentary is absolutely unbelievable. And the fans were so unbelievably responsive to it. The amount of media Taker did from, some of the biggest media platforms. He did more interviews during that 1-2 month period than he did in a 30-year career. It was unreal how much he gave to the world, how much he showed to the world. The response was unbelievable. And I think, content along those lines is, what we need to keep producing, because it really, really resonates with the fans.
Well, your storytelling, your personal story, and the way it's sort of starting to fold into your character more and more, I think is really interesting, because here you were anointed as the chosen one by Vince McMahon when he first signed you in your early 20s. Things don't exactly go according to plan. You find yourself out on the street looking for a job, and you've worked your way back. And one of the things that really stuck with me as I was doing a deeper dive into your background is that you arrive back on the scene at WWE. You think NXT is the place where you want to land. You earn that belt, but there's still something missing. And when you got the green light to show more of your personality, it enabled you to have this relatability with the fans, it seems like, that you didn't quite have before. Why do you think that is?
It's funny. So I remember my mom telling me all the time when I was younger, just be yourself. You've always just need to be yourself. And I just think she meant in real life. Just if I just applied that all the time, it made such a difference in my career. I was always playing a character throughout my career.
Why? Why?
I mean, I just, even though I've been wrestling like 20 years, and I just always did what I thought I should do. You know, I'm such a big guy. I'm 6'5". I'm 270 pounds. The chest hair.
Big hairy Scotsman who wants to fight people.
Yeah. I was like, they want to see me be angry all the time, and they want to see me battle all the time and scream and like wear a kilt and shout about haggis or whatever. And that's just not true. That's fine. Like I have a big bad guy A can fight the top good guy here, the top good guy here, but I'm never going to be anything special myself as that big generic bad guy. And it was one particular show. I remember we had to buy some time, and you know, an individual like Paul Heyman, who works for the company, kind of told me, "Here, go out there, buy some time in the microphone, and show the world kind of a little bit of yourself." So I went out there, I got in the microphone, I just started being Drew. I started telling jokes, and like there's a bit of a disconnect at first for the fans because they're used to this big angry Scotsman snarling all the time, and I was just talking like I'm talking right now, and I was telling jokes that aren't funny. Like I'm the real Drew, as you've probably noticed so far. I can be silly, sarcastic. I'll tell jokes that are just not funny dad jokes.
I'm not funny.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to fall flat in my face. That's the real Drew. And I started doing all that stuff, and then people started paying attention. And this was after the show had finished, so people were trying to leave, you know, to get to their cars, to leave the building. The TV taping had finished. We had a special match after the show had finished. Most people leave during that to get out of the building. But I saw them turning around and coming back to the ring, which I've never seen before. And people backstage that needed to see it saw it and went, "Drew, what you did tonight, we need to put that on television. What did you do?" I was just myself. You need to be yourself from now on. Like the best characters in wrestling are not characters, they're just an extension of your personality. And finally, it's something that's relatable for the fans. They can't relate to the 6'5" angry Scotsman breathing fire every week and beating people up. The one guy in Scotland who's big and angry, shouting at his screen, I get that guy. He's the only guy that relates to you. But if you tell like your story, your real personality, you're a real person, you're just a big wrestling fan who made it. And when you tell your real story behind that, how much you've had to overcome throughout your life to get to the point you're at right now. And that's what we did. We just let the real personality out. We've got into my real story about growing up, dreaming of getting to WWE, getting signed at 21, getting Vince McMahon tell everyone in front of the world, this is the future of this guy right here, which he's never done and will never do again. It didn't work out. Unfortunately, during that time when my mother got sick and inevitably passed, I had a huge downward spiral in my personal life. I got fired. I had to look in the mirror, understand it was on me. I wasn't giving it my all to my dream. I became entitled, and I worked my butt off from that day all the way to back to the company, all the way to the main event of WrestleMania, to winning the WWE title and carrying the company through a pandemic. And without all those lessons, all those ups and downs, I wouldn't be the guy I am today. Never mind the wrestler, and would not be able to do the things I'm doing, including right now. And the fans wouldn't have that connection with me because they've been through that journey with me. And now they understand the real Drew because I was finally able to give it to them. And all it took was what my mom told me in the beginning, just be yourself and you can do anything.
I think we all learn that part of our success story is predicated on determining how we leverage failure, right? And we all go through it. I've never been in a situation when I was younger where I was like, yay, this is great. But I've learned to embrace it. I've learned to see the value. For every failure, there's an opportunity to learn and grow and be better and ultimately appreciate success if we're fortunate enough to experience that, right?
100%.
What was your process when you called talent relations and you had heard that day that other people got fired, including, you know, your teammates on 3MB, and they said, you're out? What was your process from going from what was probably a really pissed off Scotsman wanting to fight people to understanding the value and getting ready to dig in and do the work to get back to where you wanted to be?
I mean, I'd love to say it was immediate, and I just was like, you know what, it's okay. I'm gonna go take over the wrestling world, and then I just did it. You know, like, that's how I kind of trained myself to think that's how it happened. But over the past year, we've done a few documentaries, we've done a kind of deep dive, and my wife's kind of been reminding me how I felt during that period. And when I got fired, I was down, really down. I just felt like I'd let myself down, let my family down, let the company down. And I just was like, am I still going to be able to do this? And, I got pretty much that day, I put together my mission statement, what I wanted to do. The UK scene was on an uptick. It needed somebody like a face of like the UK scene and independent wrestling in general. I thought I could be that guy, but I was so self-conscious. I wasn't sure if I could pull it off. I was the guy who was a comedy act when I got fired from WWE. I was like, I went from like saving like the girl from the tracks, throwing the match behind me, the building exploding and me saving the day, to literally being the comedy psychic and then getting fired. Like my confidence was at an all-time low. But I went back to the UK. I faked it till I made it. I went out there, put on a face, said, I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to show the world what I'm truly capable of. And I'm going to show the world what the independent scene and what the UK wrestling scene is truly capable of. I came backstage and everybody, the way they looked up to me and like wanted to lift me up and said, we believe in you, Drew, like really was something special for me, because I didn't believe in myself. Like my wife believed in me. I didn't believe in myself. And those like guys and girls around me during that time believed in me and looked at me as, you're the one that's going to do this, Drew, you're going to take us there. And their belief in me really made such a difference. We did it together. Like all the different companies I grew during that period, I was away from WWE in multiple countries, is because they believed in me. I was able to help them as a senior member of the team, as a veteran, and kind of give them advice. And they would come to me and just keep lifting me up and lifting me up. Once they like believed in me so much, I stopped faking it and I finally started believing it myself. And that's when things got into next gear. That's when I was really starting to take over the world outside of WWE. And that's when WWE finally came to me instead of the other way around and said, are you ready to come home? And I said, you're damn right.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because I feel like everybody within the confines of WWE talks about how you all truly are a family. Like, sure, when you're inside the ropes, there are days when somebody is your mortal enemy, right? But at the end of the day, I feel like WWE sort of subscribes to that the rising tide helps all ships. And a lot of times people are so competitive in business that they don't see the value of sort of embracing the family atmosphere. They're like every man for himself. Why is the family mentality important in the ultimate success that has been your career as you've come back and the WWE overall, you think?
Yeah, we are. I have a big family, and it's made such a difference to me because I had to leave my family in Scotland and move to America at such a young age. And I was such a family guy, and it was very difficult for me. And I was welcome right away, and I could feel that family environment. And the truth is, outside the pandemic, you're on the road, you spend more time with your work colleagues than you do with your actual family. You're on the road constantly, you go through everything together. You go through physical pain together, you go through mental pain together. Someone can be go through something at home, and we're all there for each other, and we're always lifting each other up, and you really get close to each and every one of them. And there's a reason that we call each other brother and sister in this industry. It's not just a term Hulk Hogan says, brother, but it means something. Like we really are family. We really lift each other up and want each other to be better. And that's like a cool thing about it, is if you see, one of your brothers or sisters struggling and you go and help them, and then you see like they want to learn, they want to get better, they want to improve. And when they finally make it, you feel like, God, they did it. And it is like, I've got a little brother, like whenever he does something I'm proud of, like I'm very proud of our roster when they step up and they make a difference and they're able to overcome some adversity. And you mentioned earlier about learning from your failures. Like I remember I used a Rocky quote on television the other week because it really means a lot to me. And I was like, I remember Vince McMahon was like, some kind of analogy you can say. I was like, yes, I do, sir. Don't worry about it. Didn't say anything else. I went out on TV because I like this Rocky quote really means the world to me and really says a lot about my career and how I think about things. Hopefully a lot of other people out there that have gone through some stuff, it means something to them. It's like life's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep pushing forward, keep moving forward. That's how winning's done. And it's so true. Like you're going to get knocked down more times that you're going to get pushed forward. And it's how you deal with getting knocked down, what you learn from it, what you can take from it that's really going to make you the man or the woman in the future that you're going to be.
Well, everybody wants to take down the champ. Doesn't matter what the sport is, and you fall into that category. And when you think about the pressure of being a defending champion, the pressure of trying to be one of the people responsible for keeping the company afloat amidst a pandemic, and then, just the pressure of dealing with the everyday life that is you as a WWE superstar. What's been the key to you handling that pressure in a healthy way?
I mean, aside my, experience, like I mentioned, all the ups and downs, preparing me for literally any situation, including a pandemic, I wouldn't be who I am without my wife. Like constant support, constantly believing in me, constantly pushing me forward, and knowing that I can be better than I am. Like today, like as far as she's concerned, I'm gonna be better tomorrow, and it really helped me during the most difficult of times. And from a company perspective, it just keeps me motivated, keeps me excited to try and figure out what we can do to innovate and adapt in this situation. We've done some really cool stuff that I've been so proud of. Like we couldn't be in contact with our fans. We've started doing virtual meet and greets with the fans, which has been really cool. Once a year, we do a tribute to the troops show where we show our appreciation for the men and women and their families of the armed forces that sacrificed for us. Obviously, we couldn't do it in person this year. We said that's not going to stop us, so we had it in the Thunderdome. We brought all the troops on the screens, over 1,000 in the building. I got to meet them during the week virtually, meet the families, hear their stories, how they were struggling a little bit mentally, and they were very excited for us to put that show on. And then when it comes to hospital visits and Make-A-Wishes, that's the real stuff. Whatever you think about wrestling, like that's cool, but that's some real stuff. And I'm so glad that we were able to figure out virtual hospital visits, especially like September for Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month with Connell's Cure and the V Foundation. I got to meet these kids, and like when you get talking to them, you see how strong they are. You see the smiles on their faces. It puts things in perspective. Like the things we complain about ain't worth complaining about when you see how strong some of these kids are. So that's the stuff that I'm most proud of what we've been able to do during this time as a company.
You have, I think, amazing perspective. And when people ask you what your defining moment is, you don't talk about winning the title in WrestleMania 36 last year. You talk about being fired and coming back from that. When you look forward to what you will want to accomplish the rest of your career, how much is that defining moment in the back of your mind? How much does it continue to fuel you?
It doesn't fuel me in any sense like it's a chip on my shoulder or anything, but it needed to happen. Like at that stage of my life, I just was spinning my wheels, as a man, and as a performer. And I had to get outside the bubble. And once I was outside the bubble, I was able to step away and understand that, man, there was a time where you would have been happy to be the water boy here. And you got to the point now over all these years where you're just so jaded and feel like woe is me attitude and feel like everyone should be giving you everything, even though you're not putting in the work. And I was ashamed to think that I was like that at one point, but I needed that real kick in the butt of getting fired to sit down, step back, look myself in the mirror and understand it's on you, buddy. Like a lot of personal things happened that were bad, but in the end, it was on you. And these days, hopefully everyone out there can take something from this. But if you can look yourself in the mirror the first thing in the morning and say, I'm going to give it my all today. And the last thing at night before you go to bed, look yourself back in that mirror. And if you're just going to lie to yourself, just say, did I give it my all today? If you can say yes, then trust me, you can make absolutely anything happen. Couldn't be world champion.
And I'll tack one other thing. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask if you've done all you can. And number two, make sure you're grateful and just sort of contemplate the day and think about, no matter whether it goes completely sideways, there's always things to be grateful for. Drew, you are such an inspiration. I'm sending all of my luck to you against Goldberg for the Rumble on January 31st. Thank you for continuing to share your story, and we will see you down the line.
No, thank you for having me, Bunny. It's a great Scottish name, by the way.
Oh, it is Bunny Lass.
Yeah, Bunny Lass.
Thank you. All right, Jeff, thanks for having us.
Thank you both for a great dialogue. Drew, we get well soon, happy and healthy. I had a little bit of fun in the background just to make sure you. On.
Very nice.
You referenced Hulk Hogan, so I gave you my Hulk Hogan pose. I don't think as well as he did it. There it is. Yeah. I'll let you do that one on your own. I don't think I'm gonna embarrass myself by copying you, but happy and healthy and truly, really inspiring to hear your story and inspiration and tenacity of where you are, and from everything you've said, you've really earned it and deserved it. And thank you. And Bonnie, a true professional as always. So thank you both.
No belt, but I have a pen, so there's that.
Oh, that's a nice pen though. So thank you both very much. Take care, y'all.